I opened the envelope from the bank while standing at my kitchen counter. The morning sun was coming through the window above the sink, the same window I'd looked through for 23 years. I'd made coffee in this kitchen, raised my son in this house, buried my husband, and come back here to figure out how to keep living. The letter was short, formal. It used words like default and accelerated payment and foreclosure proceedings. I read it 3 times before my hands started shaking. According to the bank, I owed $287,000. The monthly payment was $3,400. I was 68 years old. I lived on Social Security and Robert's pension. I brought in $2,100 a month. I'd owned this house outright for 6 years. My son Ryan had refinanced it 8 months ago, or that's what he'd told me he was doing. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly, the walls closer. I set the letter down on the counter and looked around at the white cabinets, the tile backsplash Robert and I had installed ourselves one weekend in 2003, the small breakfast table where Ryan used to do his homework. Everything looked the same. Everything was the same, except I was about to lose it. I picked up my phone, put it down, picked it up again. Ryan would have an explanation. He had to. He was a real estate agent. He knew about these things. When he'd come to me last spring with all those papers, he'd said he was helping me, lowering my property taxes, getting me a better insurance rate. Something about restructuring. I'd trusted him. I called his number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. His voice, cheerful and professional. "You've reached Ryan Mitchell with Prestige Realty. Leave a message and I'll get back to you." "Ryan, it's Mom," I said. My voice sounded thin. "I need you to call me back. It's about the house. There's a letter from the bank. I don't understand what's happening." I hung up and stood there in my kitchen, 68 years old and suddenly feeling like I didn't know anything at all. The paperwork had started arriving last March. Ryan had called me on a Tuesday evening. "Mom, I've been looking at your finances. You're paying way too much in property taxes." Am I? I'd been watering the plants in the living room. The phone was on speaker. "Way too much. And your homeowner's insurance is outdated. I can help you fix this. I've got some contacts at the bank. We can restructure everything, get you some savings." "I'm not sure I understand." "It's simple. You're sitting on all this equity, and you're not using it efficiently. Let me help you. That's what I do for a living, Mom." He'd come over that Saturday with his wife, Melissa. They'd brought lunch. Melissa had made a salad with strawberries and those candied pecans I liked. We'd eaten at the kitchen table and Ryan had laid out folders full of documents. "Okay," he'd said, pulling out a packet of papers. "This is the refinancing agreement. Basically, we're taking your house, which is paid off, and we're getting you a line of credit against it. That way you've got access to cash if you need it. For emergencies, medical bills, whatever. But I don't need cash," I'd said. "You might. You never know. And this way, the bank restructures your tax payments. You end up paying less annually." "How does that work?" He'd smiled. Patient. The way you smile at someone who doesn't understand technology. "It's complicated, Mom. Trust me. I do this for clients all the time. You're going to save money." Melissa had touched my hand. Ryan helped my parents with the same thing. They're saving almost $400 a month. I'd looked at the papers. There were so many. Pages and pages of legal text. Words like mortgagor and lien and promissory note. "I don't know," I'd said. "Mom." Ryan had leaned forward. "I wouldn't suggest this if I didn't think it was the right move. This is literally what I do professionally, and you're my mother. Don't you think I want what's best for you?" "Of course." "Then trust me. Let me help you." So I'd signed. He'd put little tabs on all the pages where I needed to sign or initial. He'd explained some of it. Most of it. I thought he'd explained most of it. It was hard to remember now. Melissa had been telling me about their daughter Emma's soccer tournament. Ryan had been moving papers around, pointing to lines, handing me a pen. I'd signed. Now it was November, and I was holding a foreclosure notice. Ryan didn't call back that day. I tried him 3 more times. Each time, voicemail. By evening, I called Melissa's cell. "Hi, Dorothy," she said. I could hear traffic in the background. "What's up?" "I'm trying to reach Ryan." "Is he with you?" "He's showing a property. Big potential sale." "He's been busy all day." "I need to talk to him. It's important." "Is everything okay?" Her voice had shifted. Still friendly, but careful now. "There's a letter from the bank. About the house. I need Ryan to explain it to me." A pause. "What kind of letter?" "It says I'm in default. It says I owe almost $300,000. Another pause. Longer. "I'm sure it's just a mistake, Dorothy. You know how banks are with their paperwork. Ryan will clear it up. Can you have him call me tonight?" "Of course." As soon as he's free. He called at 9:47 p.m. I was in bed, but I wasn't sleeping. Hadn't slept much since opening that envelope. "Mom, hey. Sorry I missed your calls. Crazy day. What's going on?" I sat up, turned on the bedside lamp. "I got a letter from First National Bank. It says I'm in default on a mortgage. It says I owe $287,000. Silence on the other end. "Ryan?" "Yeah, I'm here." "Okay, don't panic. This is probably just an administrative thing." "An administrative thing?" Sometimes when you refinance, the bank's systems get confused. They send out these automated letters. "It's nothing to worry about. It says foreclosure proceedings." "Mom, listen to me. I will handle this. This is exactly why I'm helping you with your finances. You don't need to worry about this stuff. I'll call the bank tomorrow and straighten it out." "But what does it mean that I owe almost $300,000? It's technical. It's how they list the equity line, the amount you have access to. It doesn't mean you actually owe it, but it says default because you haven't drawn from the line yet. It's automated. The system thinks you're supposed to be making payments, but you're not because you haven't used any of the money. I'll fix it. I promise." I wanted to believe him. He was my son. He'd never lied to me. "Are you sure?" "Mom, I'm a real estate agent. I deal with this stuff every single day. Trust me, I've got this." I lay back down after we hung up, stared at the ceiling. The same ceiling I'd stared at next to Robert for 23 years. The same house, the same life. Something felt wrong. Ryan didn't call the next day, or the day after. When I tried calling him, his phone went straight to voicemail. On Thursday, I drove to his office. Prestige Realty was in a strip mall near the highway. Glass front. Big windows with property listings. The receptionist smiled when I walked in. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Ryan Mitchell. I'm his mother." "Oh, Ryan's out of the office this week. He's at a conference in Phoenix." "A conference?" "Real Estate Expo. He'll be back Monday." I stood there in the lobby of my son's office, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. Did he mention anything about going out of town? I think it was kind of last minute. His assistant would know more, but she's out sick today. I drove home, sat at my kitchen table, looked at the letter from the bank again. Then I did something I probably should have done immediately. I called the bank. The woman who answered transferred me 3 times before I reached someone in the mortgage department. A man named Ted with a kind voice. "Mrs. Mitchell, I'm looking at your account now. Yes, you have a reverse mortgage with us. It was originated in March of this year." "A reverse mortgage?" "Yes, ma'am. That's a loan where the bank pays you, essentially, against the equity in your home. You took out the maximum amount available based on your home's appraised value." My hands were cold. "How much?" "The initial disbursement was $273,000. "Where did that money go?" I heard him typing. "It was deposited into an account at First National. The account is in your name, but there's a secondary authorized user. A Ryan Mitchell. That's my son." "Yes, ma'am. According to our records, he's listed as the co-applicant and has full access to the account. Can you tell me what happened to that money?" "I can see the account was opened in March. Large withdrawals started immediately. By June, the balance was down to $42. The kitchen was spinning. Where did it go?" I'm not able to see that from here. You'd need to request detailed statements. But Mrs. Mitchell, I need to inform you that you're currently 3 months behind on the mandatory insurance and tax payments associated with this loan. That's why you received the notice of default. I don't understand, Ryan said. There weren't any payments. With a reverse mortgage, you don't have a monthly mortgage payment, but you're still responsible for property taxes and homeowners insurance. Those payments are due quarterly. You haven't made any payments since the loan originated. How much do I owe? Currently, $8,400. And if the default isn't cured within 90 days, the bank can begin foreclosure proceedings. I couldn't breathe right. 90 days from when? From the first notice, which was sent in October. That gives you until January 15th. 2 months. I had 2 months. Mrs. Mitchell, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. Thank you for the information. I hung up, sat there in my kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd fed my son breakfast before school, where Robert and I had celebrated anniversaries, where I'd signed papers last March because my son told me to trust him. $273,000 gone. I needed to see the bank statements. I drove back to First National. The teller pulled up my account. I watched her face change as she looked at the screen. Ma'am, you'll need to request these statements formally. There are a lot of transactions. Can you print them for me? She looked uncomfortable. It's 14 pages. I can print them, but it'll take a few minutes. I'll wait. I sat in the lobby while she printed, watched people come and go. A young couple, probably getting a mortgage for their first house, an older man making a deposit. Normal people doing normal things. Not people whose sons had stolen their houses. The teller brought me the statements in a folder. Is there anything else? The withdrawals. Can you tell me what they were for? She shook her head. Most are just listed as transfers or withdrawals. You'd have to ask the account holder. The account holder. That was me. And Ryan. I took the folder home. Spread the papers across my kitchen table. Started reading. March 18th. Initial deposit, $273,000. March 19th. Withdrawal, $30,000. ATM and cashier's check. March 22nd. Transfer, $85,000. To R. Mitchell Property Holdings, LLC. March 28th. Withdrawal, $40,000. Cashier's check. April 3rd. Transfer, $55,000. To Mitchell and Associates Real Estate. April 12th. Withdrawal, $25,000. Cash withdrawal. It went on, page after page. By June, like the banker said, there was $42 left. Ryan had taken my money, all of it. My equity. 23 years of payments Robert and I had made. The house we'd bought when Ryan was 3 years old. The mortgage we'd celebrated paying off 6 years ago. Ryan had taken it all and put it into business accounts. His businesses, I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called Melissa. She didn't answer. I called his office. The receptionist said he was still at the conference. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. By Saturday, I'd decided what to do. I found an attorney. A woman named Patricia Chen, who specialized in elder law. Her office was in a professional building downtown. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45. She listened while I explained everything, showed her the bank letter, the statements, the original paperwork from March. She read through it all in silence. When she finished, she looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Anger, maybe, or sadness. Mrs. Mitchell, do you understand what happened here? My son stole my money. More than that. He committed several crimes. Financial exploitation of an elder. Fraud. Potentially forgery if any of these signatures were obtained under false pretenses. This is serious. Can I get my house back? That's complicated. The reverse mortgage itself is legal. You signed the documents. But the way your son misrepresented what you were signing and then immediately drained the account he had access to, that's fraud. We'd need to prove you didn't understand what you were signing and that he deliberately deceived you. He did deceive me. He said it was for lowering my taxes. Did you read the documents? I thought about that day in March, the strawberry salad, Melissa talking about Emma's soccer, Ryan moving papers around. He explained them. I thought he explained them, but did you read them yourself? Every page? There were so many pages. Patricia nodded slowly. I understand. And that's part of the problem. Legally, you're responsible for what you sign. But we can argue undue influence. We can argue that he abused his position of trust as your son and as a real estate professional. We can file a police report for financial exploitation. Will I get the money back? Honestly? Probably not. If he's already spent it on business expenses, and if those businesses aren't profitable, there may not be any money to recover. But we can try to stop the foreclosure. We can argue that the loan was obtained through fraud and should be voided. It's not guaranteed, but it's a chance. How much will this cost? My retainer is $5,000. The full case, if it goes to litigation, could be anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000. I laughed, actually laughed. It came out sharp and bitter. I have $2,100 a month in income and $8,400 in debt. I don't have $5,000. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Let me make some calls. There are legal aid organizations that handle elder exploitation cases, and we need to file a police report regardless. That doesn't cost anything." I filed the police report on Monday. A detective named Williams took my statement. He was probably in his 50s, thick gray mustache. He listened to everything and took notes. "Has your son contacted you at all?" he asked. "No. He's supposedly at a conference in Phoenix. Do you believe that?" I thought about it. "No, I don't think I do. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm going to be honest with you. These cases are hard to prosecute. Family financial exploitation, there's often a lot of he said, she said. You signed the documents. You gave him access to the account because he told me it was for lowering my taxes. I believe you. But proving that in court, proving he deliberately defrauded you, that's difficult, especially since he's your son and there's presumably a history of trust there. So he gets away with it? I didn't say that. We'll investigate. We'll talk to him. But I want you to be prepared for the possibility that the criminal case doesn't go anywhere. The civil case, that's different. You can sue him, try to recover the money, but that takes time and money. Ryan called me that night. Finally, it was 10:30 p.m. I was sitting in my living room with all the lights off. "Mom, I heard you went to the police. You stole from me, Ryan." "I didn't steal anything. That money was for the business. You knew that. We talked about it. You told me you were refinancing to lower my taxes. That's what you heard. I told you I was accessing your equity to create investment opportunities. That's what refinancing is. You didn't listen. You took $273,000 out of my house. Our house, Mom. I grew up there. I have just as much right to that equity as you do." The words hit me like cold water. It's my house. Robert and I bought it. We paid for it. And I'm your son. You're supposed to help me. That's what parents do. They help their kids. Help you? Ryan, I'm about to lose my home. I can't pay the insurance and taxes on this reverse mortgage. The bank is going to foreclose. Then you should have read what you were signing. You told me to trust you, and you should have. If you'd just stayed quiet and let me manage things, everything would have been fine. But you had to panic. You had to get lawyers involved. Now you've made everything complicated. I realized something then. My son wasn't sorry. He didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He thought I owed him this money. He thought it was his right. "Ryan," I said slowly, "are you going to help me pay the default amount?" "I can't. The money's invested. It's tied up in properties. It's going to pay off eventually, but right now I don't have liquid assets. You don't have $8,000? Not cash, no. And even if I did, Mom, I don't think I should have to pay it. You got yourself into this situation. You need to figure it out. I hung up, sat there in the dark, crying. Not because I was sad, because I was angry, furious. My son had stolen from me, and he thought it was my fault. The next morning, I called Patricia Chen. I want to sue him. I want to file a police report. I want to do everything. Mrs. Mitchell, I told you. Legal aid might be able to help, but I'll sell things. I'll figure it out. But I'm not letting him get away with this. She was quiet. Then, okay, let me see what I can do. The next 2 weeks were a blur. Patricia connected me with a legal aid organization that agreed to take my case pro bono. I gave statement after statement. We filed a civil lawsuit against Ryan and his business entities for fraud, unjust enrichment, and financial exploitation. We filed a motion to void the reverse mortgage on the grounds that it was obtained through deception. Ryan stopped answering my calls entirely. Melissa blocked my number. I drove by their house once, a nice 2-story in a new development. I wondered if my money had paid for it. The hearing for the preliminary injunction was in early December. Patricia explained that we were asking the court to stop the foreclosure process while the fraud case was investigated. The bank would be there. Ryan would be there. A judge would decide if there was enough evidence of fraud to pause everything. I wore the same dress I'd worn to Robert's funeral. Navy blue. Conservative. Patricia said it was important to look sympathetic. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Ryan sat at a table with his attorney. He wouldn't look at me. The bank had their lawyer. Patricia and I sat at our table. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She read through our motion, then asked Patricia to explain. Patricia stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Mitchell is a 68-year-old widow living on a fixed income. In March of this year, her son, who is a real estate agent, came to her with documents he claimed would lower her property taxes. He pressured her to sign without fully explaining what she was signing. What she actually signed was a reverse mortgage for $273,000. Her son was listed as an authorized user on the disbursement account. Within 3 months, he withdrew all of the money into his own business accounts. Mrs. Mitchell received none of it. She's now facing foreclosure because she can't afford the mandatory tax and insurance payments. This is textbook financial exploitation of a vulnerable elder. Ryan's attorney stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Mitchell is a competent adult who signed legal documents. Her son is a licensed real estate professional who helped her access her equity. The money was used for legitimate business investments. The fact that Mrs. Mitchell now regrets her decision doesn't constitute fraud. The judge looked at me. Mrs. Mitchell, did you read the documents before you signed them? I stood up. My legs felt shaky. Your Honor, my son brought them over with lunch. He said they were to help me save money on taxes. There were dozens of pages. He put little tabs on where I needed to sign. He said it was complicated and I should trust him. He's my son. I did trust him. But did you read them? Not all of them. Not carefully. He said he'd explain it. And did he explain it? I thought about that day. He said it was refinancing. He said I'd have access to cash if I needed it. He didn't tell me it was a reverse mortgage. He didn't tell me I'd lose my house if I couldn't pay the taxes. He didn't tell me he was going to take all the money. The judge looked at Ryan. Mr. Mitchell, is it true that you withdrew $273,000 from the account within 3 months of the loan origination? Ryan's lawyer answered. Your Honor, Mr. Mitchell is an authorized user on the account. The withdrawals were legal. That wasn't my question. Did he withdraw the money? Yes, Your Honor. And did any of that money go to his mother? The lawyer hesitated. The money was invested in business ventures that would eventually benefit the family. I'll take that as a no. The judge read something on her desk, then looked up. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm granting a temporary injunction. The foreclosure is stayed for 90 days while we investigate the fraud allegations. The bank is to take no further action. Mr. Mitchell, you're ordered not to contact your mother or make any financial transactions related to the disputed funds. We'll reconvene in February for a full hearing. She banged her gavel. It was over. Patricia squeezed my hand. This is good. We bought you time. I looked across the room. Ryan was leaving with his lawyer. He still wouldn't look at me. That was a month ago. It's January now. The house is still mine, for now. The legal case is ongoing. Detective Williams says the criminal investigation is active, but he's not optimistic about charges. He'll probably claim it was a misunderstanding, he told me. He'll say, you knew what you were signing. It's hard to prove otherwise. The civil case is stronger. Patricia thinks we have a chance of getting the reverse mortgage voided and possibly recovering some of the money if Ryan still has it. But it could take years. I've learned things I wish I'd known before. Red flags I missed, like when Ryan kept saying, trust me, instead of explaining things clearly. Like when he rushed me through the paperwork instead of giving me time to read. Like when he was evasive about the details. I've also learned that I'm not alone. Patricia says she sees cases like mine all the time. Adult children who manipulate elderly parents, who steal from them, who justify it by saying they deserve the inheritance early. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Maybe I'll keep my house. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get some of the money back. Maybe Ryan will face consequences. But I do know one thing. I'm not staying quiet. I'm not pretending this didn't happen. I filed the police report. I hired the lawyer. I stood up in court and said what he did. Because silence is what people like Ryan count on. They count on shame, on family loyalty, on victims being too embarrassed or too scared to fight back. I'm 68 years old. I spent 23 years in this house with a man I loved. I spent 6 years here alone, learning how to be okay. This is my home, my life, and I'm not giving it up without a fight. If this has happened to you, or if you think it might be happening to someone you love, please don't wait like I did. These are the warning signs I missed. Someone pressuring you to sign documents quickly, someone discouraging you from getting a second opinion, someone saying, just trust me, instead of explaining clearly, someone controlling your mail or bank statements, someone making financial decisions for your own good without your full understanding. If you see these signs, get help. Call a lawyer, call Adult Protective Services, call the police. It's not being disloyal to your family, it's protecting yourself, and you deserve to be protected.